This is crazy as Bill Guerin reveals that a shocking move is incoming and has to do with top prospect Jesper Wallstedt, as the plan for him is now very different from what we once thought. We got to dive into that. Plus, with the World Championship coming up and 6 Wild players, including Zeev, Buium, and young player David Spacek heading there, we have to dive into the impact that it's going to have and a little look at the opening days of this tournament. There's a bunch of great stuff and surprising stuff going down, and we're here to break it down all for you on this episode of Wild Digest. Quick reminder though, again, 90% of you are not subscribed to the channel, and we are so close to 1,000 subscribers. So if, hey, you're enjoying this video, hit that free subscribe button down below. And if you're not enjoying, that's fine too, but I hope you stick around for this one because there's a lot of crazy stuff we got to dive into. And Kirk, the first thing I want to talk about today, we got to talk about the World Hockey Championships. They're upcoming starting on Friday, May 9th. And the Wild got a lot of people going. We got Fleury and Spurgeon for Team Canada, Zeev Buium for our United States, Brodin and Marcus Johansson for Sweden, and David Spacek for Czechia. Now, there's a lot of guys we could talk about here, Kirk. Of course, starting on the 9th, we'll have a lot of our guys playing on that first day. And over the first 2 days, we'll be seeing a lot of Wild hockey. How you feeling about this, man? There's not many teams that have as many people going as the Wild. And I just really like to see that even after a season ended in disappointment once again, we're going to get to see our guys play even more hockey.
Yeah, I'm really excited because the World Championships is something you can always look forward to. Have a playoff off day, and then you kind of watch the World Championship. It's great. You get to see the international, a lot of good NHL players. And at the end of the day, it's best on best. You have some teams that may not have a plethora of NHL players, but regardless, you're seeing your top guys get that experience of playing against NHL players. I think that's why this is going to be so important for the Minnesota Wild. Well, first of all, Marc Andre Fleury, kind of a little farewell to our first time playing in the World Championship. For Team Canada, of course, going back with Crosby. It's going to be nice to see that just from that standpoint. But more importantly, I think for the future of the Minnesota Wild, Zeev Buium and David Spacek. Zeev Buium, we saw him this year in the playoffs. Little bit of, rust there, I would say. But when you're coming into a game and a series against the Vegas Golden Knights as your first few NHL games, he did pretty good. Yeah. Let's not complain. I think this is going to be a great opportunity for him to be around more NHL players, but also get a good experience as to what the NHL game is going to be like. The U.S. team is going to have a lot of players. He may not play every game. He may be in and out of the lineup, and especially when some other players start to get eliminated, they'll come over. But looking at Zeev, I think it's going to be a great opportunity for him. I like what we're going to see from him, and hopefully we get him that little extra boost in to an NHL roster next season. But we go to David Spacek as well, someone that we have to keep an eye on, and a lot of people forget that our defense on the prospect side of things is very deep. And Spacek this year, we played a lot in Iowa. Pretty good season is considering how, what that team was like. Yeah. I don't want to go and kind of go trash the Iowa Wild, but that team needs to be fixed up. Let's just say that. But David Spacek, a guy who, once again, is another right-handed defenseman, hard to come by the NHL. He's going to be a good opportunity to see what he can do to crack this roster next year. We've spoken about the possibilities of other players, what's going to happen with, Bogosian and Spurgeon and, David Jiricek. There's so many opportunities for someone to make this roster, and hopefully we see David Spacek get some extra extra boost, I guess we could say, heading into next season after playing with Czechia this year.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool. And again, of course, Czechia, Jaroslav Spacek, his father was playing in Columbus at the time. So that's something I just learned, that David Spacek was born in Columbus as we were preparing for this. But look, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think I actually confused Spacek with Jiricek in the last video. You probably saw that. But look, 31 points in 72 games with an Iowa team that was one of the worst power plays in the league, and they were one of the worst offensive teams in the league in the AHL. He managed to produce. So just a guy to keep an eye on. And we can't forget, in the World Juniors not too long ago, this guy put up 8 points in 7 games as a defenseman for Czechia as well. So a lot to look forward to in this World Hockey Championship. Hope you tune in. We'll be giving you some updates as the tournament's going on as well. Just another reason to hit that subscribe button, right? But listen, Kirk, the big news today is not the World Hockey Championship. It's as big as that is, of course. We got to talk about Jesper Wallstedt. Now, this article from The Athletic that we will link down below, Michael Russo, Joe Smith, they're revealing all, and this update on Wallstedt is quite different from what I was expecting, and we'll dive right into it here. So let's just show you what they had to say here. They said, but Wallstedt is no longer a lock to make the team if he doesn't come to camp and prove he's ready to be a full-time backup to Gustavsson. This summer, the Wild plan to sign a third goalie who they can trust to be an NHL backup. That quote comes directly from the article, but it comes from Bill Guerin. Bill Guerin told them after his media availability, yes, we plan to sign a third goalie who we can trust to be a backup. Now, Kirk, the 3 goalie system is something that we thought we were going to see a bit more this past season. Did not work out, of course. But Jesper Wallstedt, this is a very interesting situation. Bill Guerin also said in this article that Wallstedt's just going to kind of have to be a bit better when things don't go his way, which I thought was a bit of a crazy quote as well. Look, it's no secret that he had a bad year, But I think, like, 843 save, or sorry, 843 with the Wild, 879 with the Iowa Wild. A bit nuts for me. I don't know. How do you feel about the way that they're seemingly treating Wallstedt right now as like, look, it's not yours for the taking. On the one hand, I don't mind it. On the other hand, part of me is like a little concerned with the way they were speaking about him. How do you feel?
I think you got to be bold. I really do, especially for Jesper Wallstedt, still young. You don't want to make him think that this is acceptable because, frankly, it is not. And obviously, the Iowa Wild didn't help him at all down there. As I mentioned, that team was just not great. But when a short time at the Minnesota Wild as well, we saw very similar. And three-goal system is something that I think we arguably need to go out until we see Jesper Wallstedt actually be able to perform. And we know how good Filip Gustavsson's been. There's been talks about an extension there that we're going to touch on at a later date. But, that's just another reason to subscribe. But when we're looking at Jesper Wallstedt here as well, I'm very high on him. I was on my knees waiting for Jesper Wallstedt to get drafted by the Minnesota Wild in that year. I was waiting. I needed him. I just watching that draft. I was like, Wallstedt needs to be a Minnesota Wild. Now, seeing the way that's played out so far, it's not the greatest, but I'm still not down on him yet. Obviously, goalies have tough seasons. We've been able to see that forever in history in the NHL. So I just hope that this is not going to, strike him the wrong way. I hope that he feels that, this is just a confidence boost. Like, you're going to have to earn it still. We're not giving it to you, but it's your net to lose. So I hope that Bill Guerin, it came off in the right way for Wallstedt, but I think it was the right thing for Guerin to do, and it was much needed for, kind of the way that this season played out for him.
Yeah, and it's very interesting, though, too. Like, I mean, I think he can bounce back, but it's been interesting to watch him. Again, a couple of injuries here and there, like just a bit of a season that got derailed. Like a lot of these guys in the NHL and in the AHL have had crazy years, whether it's Eriksson Ek or Kaprizov or Zuccarello in some way, but like Wallstedt too, right? Even a few injuries, like you have to imagine he was ready to like be part of this Wild team, Minnesota Wild, and then to get sent down to Iowa is just like probably hit him kind of hard. He didn't have a great year, got hurt every now and then. This is just one of those outlier years that I hope that in the future we'll be able to look at and just say, this is not what Jesper Wallstedt is. He's a lot closer to that 22-23 season. But the other thing that he said, Kirk, is again, if we go back to that quote, they're going to sign a third goalie who they can trust to be an NHL backup. And looking at the list of UFA goalies this offseason, there's not that many. As of right now, in the NHL, of goalies that are still under contract this year, there's probably some guys that might come over from Europe. That kind of thing happens every now and then. But if we're talking established veteran NHL goalies, Kirk, this is kind of the list. Chris Drieger's also there, but I kind of didn't include him in the screenshot because he didn't really do anything. So right now, like I'm looking at this, there's really only two names here that have above a 900 save percentage this past season, and that's Jake Allen and that's Anton Forsberg. Now, it could be funny to reunite Gustafsson and Anton Forsberg, the former Senators guys. Jake Allen's one of those guys that for his whole career has been an incredible backup or 1B when you've needed him to be that. To be honest, that wouldn't shock me. I don't know what the price tag would be on a guy like Jake Allen, who's again had an incredible year in New Jersey where he needed to take over for Markstrom for large stretches. What are you feeling like? And again, I feel like if it is someone like a Jake Allen, it's going to be hard to justify a team that's like really pushing for a playoff spot. It's going to be hard to justify even getting Wallstedt into that many games, especially after this past season. It's just, it's surprising. I think I just didn't necessarily expect that it would go down this way.
Yeah, it really caught me by surprise. I got to say, the way that Bill Guerin kind of came across and said this. But like you said, I think Jake Allen really is maybe the only option here that you can actually confidently trust to go out and get you a win when you know Filip Gustavsson or Jesper Wallstedt may be a bit tired or having played a few games in a row. Like you said, took over from Markstrom, played very, very well on that. Now a good team in front of him as well, but has just been, like you said, the backup that has been needed by any team, wherever he's been. Montreal took over as a starter, back up on New Jersey, and ultimately became the starter. Back with Brian Elliott on the Blues, they were a solid tandem. He was a solid tandem wherever he's been. So realistically, I think he's the only one that I could confidently say I trust to be a full backup. But when you're coming out as well, knowing that his value of how good he's been as a backup, being that 1B, a lot of teams are going to be in on a backup goalie like that. So they may have a bit of a challenge. They may be kind of outbid in certain instances. The only other name I think I'd be somewhat confident with is Alex Lyon. Kind of gives me a bit of a Jordan Binnington style of play. But once again, in Detroit, you never really know how good a goalie can be. Their stats are always going to be bad because that team just seems to have no luck. But it's a pretty slim list, and I think that the Wild need to make their decision early, get something done, and be one of the first teams on it if they actually do go out here and sign another goalie to be kind of that third end part with Wallstedt and Gustavsson.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, like you said, there's going to be a lot of people competing for a lot of spots. These goalies are not always easy to come by, so we'll have to see what the Wild do. Maybe Allen or Lyon's a front runner. Maybe someone else will be made available via trade. Who knows? Let us know your thoughts. what does the future for Wallstedt look like this upcoming season for Minnesota? Because it's not going the way we planned, that's for sure. But let us know down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Wild Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, but most importantly, guys, we're so close to 1,000 subs. I know we've been saying a lot this video, but it's a huge milestone for us, and we just have you to thank for all the incredible support. I'm Josh Goss, my co-host Kirk Day. We'll catch you in the next one.